You're listening to the Kirkintilloch Herald, a Q&Review recording service podcast, brought to you by our team of volunteers currently recording from their homes across Scotland. Whether you're listening via the BWBF online players, the telephone app, or our brand new Alexa skill, please phone us on 0141 772 3976 to feedback on what you want us to provide and improve upon. Please also join your family and friends in being our audio ambassadors and share our Facebook, Twitter and Instagram all at @QNReview. That's @ CUEANDREVIEW.
The Kirkintilloch Herald, date Wednesday the 27th of April 2022. Artist is on board. Report by Brian Newell. East Dunbartonshire has become the first area in Scotland to appoint an artist for the national Remembering Together programme. Remembering Together will see memorial projects in each local authority bring together communities and artists in reflection, hope and healing following the pandemic. East Dunbartonshire Council and East Dunbartonshire Leisure Culture Trust have appointed Elena Mary Harrison to co-create the area's COVID-19 Memorial Project with local residents and community groups. The participatory artist and facilitator has delivered projects across central Scotland. Working in arts, education, health and social care settings, Elena will reach out to communities as part of the first phase of the project, inviting individuals and groups to come up with ideas on what the area's memorial will be. In her work, she aims to create spaces where people, many of whom often go unheard, will be listened to and encouraged to speak. Her recent projects include partnerships with Edinburgh Young Carers, the British Museum, Erskine Care Homes, Ames Advocacy, Includem and the National Library of Scotland. Elena said, "I was excited to become the Phase 1 Remembering Together artist for East Dunbartonshire from the moment I read the brief. I was struck with the green space, the council and the Leisure and Cultural Trust use of language around co-creation, the explicit focus on creative advocacy, and how this fits so closely alongside the ethics of my own practice. I can't wait to get in and around the East Dunbartonshire community, using a variety of different creative mediums to find out what people in the area really want for a COVID memorial in their area. So if anyone living and working in East Dunbartonshire has any ideas or want to get involved, I really look forward to reflecting and creating it alongside you." Jim Neal, chair of EDLC Trust, added, "It is fantastic news that someone of Elena's experience and calibre is now on board to work with our local communities. Together, they will begin the process of creating our area's memorial to all those who lost their lives or experienced change as a result of the pandemic. The people of East Dunbartonshire have demonstrated wonderful community spirit and kindness over the last 2 years, and I fully expect many residents to get involved in creating our tribute with Elena. Phase 1 of Remembering Together will result in the co-creation of an idea or concept, which could be a physical structure, garden, artwork, play, music or virtual exhibition. The memorial itself will be created in Phase 2, beginning later in the year. To find out more, email cultural1@eastdunbarton.gov.uk or visit www.rememberingtogether.scot. This week in history. April 26, 1986. An accident at the Soviet nuclear power station at Chernobyl resulted in a massive radiation leak. On this day last year, Princess Diana's wedding dress would go on show at Kensington Palace for the first time in 25 years, it was announced. April 27, 1968. Abortion was legalised in Britain. April 28, 1945. Benito Mussolini and his mistress Claretta Petacci were executed by Italian partisans, and their bodies hung in a square in Milan. On this day last year, a man went viral on social media after completing a 6-year challenge to park in every parking space at his local Sainsbury's. April 29, 1933. Footballers' shirts were first numbered, from 1 to 22, in the English FA Cup final at Wembley. On this day last year, the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, William and Kate, celebrated their 10th wedding anniversary. April 30th, 1993, tennis player Monica Seles was stabbed by an obsessed fan during a quarter-final match of the 1993 Citizen Cup in Hamburg, Germany. May the 1st, 1968, Legoland Family Park opened at Billund in Denmark. On this day last year, a monster fatberg thought to weigh some 300 tonnes was found to be blocking a sewer beneath Birmingham. Weaving exhibition. Report by Brian Newell. You'll be dying to get to the latest exhibition, which opens at the Old Kirk Museum in Kirkintilloch next month. That was then, but this is now, as a showcase of work from the West of Scotland Guild of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers, which opens on Saturday, May the 14th. The Guild is a group of textile enthusiasts, united through a love of all things fibre, who meet regularly from September to May in the Mulgai Community Education Centre. Jim Neal, Chair of Eastern Bartonshire Leisure and Cultural Trust, said, "This will be a very popular exhibition at the Old Kirk Museum, and I hope I'm not spinning you a tall tale when I say you'll need to wave your way through the crowds for a chance to see it." Employing a variety of materials and skill sets, the Guild's exhibition provides a showcase for members' work, both past and present, and I would encourage people to come along and appreciate the works on show for themselves. Members range from the absolute beginner to those with many years of experience behind them, but even the most experienced had a starting point. Riel Noir, President of the West of Scotland Guild of Weavers, Spinners and Dyers, said, "In this exhibition, it is refreshing to observe the makers' initial engagement with their chosen crafts and observe how the work has developed to create its own unique visual language. Starting something new can be rather daunting, and we do hope that the inclusion of members' initial results when working with yarn might inspire our visitors as they follow the exhibiting members' journeys from then to now." That was then, but this is now. Will run at the Old Kirk Museum until Thursday, June the 23rd. For more information, call the gallery on 0141 777 3013 or visit www.edlc.co.uk. The Guild usually meets on the second Saturday of each month during the season. A programme of talks and workshops are hosted with visiting tutors and others, with specialists from within the membership itself. Visitors and new members are always welcome. For more information, visit www.weave-spin-dye-glasgow.org.uk. Targeting leaders. A Waterside man is seeking election in the Bearsden South Ward next month so he can stand directly against Eastern Bartonshire Council's joint leaders Vaughan Moody and Andrew Polson. Duncan Malcolm is standing on May the 5th as an independent after believing it was time to either put up or shut up. He said, "The party system has failed Eastern Bartonshire. The concerns and wishes of the residents are forgotten as cheap political point scoring and infighting have dominated the council chamber for the past 5 years. Although I am from Waterside, I am standing in Bearsden South as I hope to unseat either or both of the council's joint leaders by standing in their ward and, if elected, I shall of course represent the best interests of both the residents of Bearsden South and the whole of Eastern Bartonshire."
Cyclists deliver their message. More than 2,000 protesters gathered in Edinburgh on Saturday as they cycle and march from the National Museum of Scotland to the Scottish Parliament, calling on politicians to make Scotland a cycle-friendly country. Now in its 10th year, Pedal on Parliament has called for politicians to sign up to its manifesto, which asks politicians of all parties to agree to proper funding for active travelling, starting at 10% of the transport budget and rising to 20% by the end of the parliamentary term. Design cycling for all ages and abilities into Scotland's roads. Implement and enforce safer speeds where people live, work and play. Pedal on Parliament was originally founded by David Brennan from Torrance back in 2012, and although not actively involved these days, was asked to be Master of Ceremonies. He said, "I'm not involved in organising Pedal on Parliament these days, and I tip my hat to the team for the hard work bringing it together. However, I was honoured to have been asked to be MC for the day. Peddle in Parliament wanted to deliver its message ahead of next month's council elections. This year's main organiser, Alec Robertson, said, "I stepped up to coordinate the 2022 ride as I felt it was important to send a message to our politicians before the next local elections. I ride with my kids and I want to feel safe for them cycling with me and for them to have the freedom to cycle independently."
New baby group. A new baby group is starting in Twecker Healthy Living and Enterprise Centre tomorrow, Thursday. Running from 1 to 2:30 p.m, due to the size of the hall, it is only open to babies from Twecker itself. Toddlers are welcome and there will be sensory toys and fun fidgets. The cost is £2 per family. Wee Wheelies Pre-5 Family Fun is on every Monday at the centre from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. The cost is £1 per child who must be supervised by a parent or carer. Big balance lessons take place at 1 p.m. for ages 2 to 5 and up. Meanwhile, the centre is currently organising a Twecker Beach Day on June the 4th and 5th to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. More details of the 2 days of activities will follow at www.facebook.com/TweckerHLEC. SPT spent £2 million in ED. Report by Brian Newell. Strathclyde Partnership for Transport, SPT, has invested more than £2 million in Eastern Bartonshire in the past 5 years, a new report has revealed. The report, SPT Delivering for Eastern Bartonshire, shows £1.7 million worth of capital funding was awarded to support sustainable transport projects in the area between 2017 and 2021. Almost £500,000 worth of additional money was also awarded to Eastern Bartonshire Council in 2021-22 to support their delivery. Since 2017, SPT has provided nearly £1.7 million in support of active travel developments as part of the Walking and Cycling Off-Road Network Improvements project. This funding has helped the council deliver several key projects, including Westerway Active Travel Route, Kirkintilloch Town Centre Sustainable Transport Improvements, and Lenzie Hub. The Westerway has seen an old section of the Westerhill Road converted into a new traffic-free travel corridor for walking, cycling and wheeling. SPT funding helped to support the delivery of major changes in Kirkintilloch to make the town centre around the Cowgate area a more welcoming pedestrian and public transport friendly place for shopping, businesses, residents and visitors. The Lenzie Station Improvement Project delivered enhancements to the station car park and Lenzie Cross area, creating a more pedestrian and cycle-friendly environment. Other projects include improvements to bus infrastructure and the off-road path networks, including Mugdaw Park Works, and transport services carrying 1,900 children to and from school every day in Eastern Bartonshire. Valerie Davidson, Chief Executive of SPT, said, "We continue to deliver a range of services in Eastern Bartonshire and across the region, either directly or on behalf of councils. As this report shows, we have invested more than £2 million over the last 5 years in sustainable transport projects in the area. While the COVID-19 pandemic resulted in significant impacts on our operational activities due to reduced travel demand, the majority of services were maintained to ensure transport remained in place." And that was a report by Brian Newell. Haircut for Ukrainians. Report by Brian Newell. A Lennoxtown youngster has sacrificed 10 inches of her hair in support of 2 good causes. St Mackin's primary pupil Niamh Burke had her hair cut to help children suffering cancer and those fleeing the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The 9-year-old is a member of the Lennoxtown Project Group, which has been involved in collecting aid for Ukraine. The first load of aid Niamh helped to collect was donated to the Collybank Outdoor Centre in Banknock and has been sent to the Ukraine/Polish border. She then went to visit Collybank with her mum Colleen and they got speaking to the owner, John Penman. He told them about his journey to Eastern Europe to provide aid to the refugees and his plans for a return trip. After going home, Niamh wondered what she could do to help and hit upon the idea of using her hair to raise money. 10 inches of her hair were cut off by Lynette Gallagher Barr at Lennoxtown's Vanity Hair and Beauty earlier this month. This follows in the footsteps of her older sister Brooklyn, who sacrificed 14 inches of her hair back in 2016, which was subsequently donated to the Little Princess Trust. Neve's hair will also be sent to the charity, which provides real hair wigs, free of charge, to children and young people who have lost their own hair through cancer. In addition, through her efforts she raised £1,000 in sponsorship and was back at Cloybank to surprise John with the cheque. John told Neve he would use the money to buy food in his next trip to Poland for delivery to refugee camps on the Ukraine border. Colleen said, "John had no idea Neve had done this, and she raised such a fabulous total going around with her sponsor sheet. I'm very proud of her. I want to thank everyone who gave Neve their support in aid of the Little Princess Trust and the Ukrainian refugees." John is currently in Poland, having driven all the way to Wrocław with the delivery of aid, food and toys for those most in need. He said, "What we are doing is a drop in the ocean, but it will make a difference, hopefully." Scotland on Tour brings Rue and Neil to Lenzie. Report by Brian Newell. An initiative to support the recovery of Scotland's live music industry is showcasing a special concert at St Cyprian's Church, Lenzie, on Saturday, May the 14th. Rue Geddes and Neil Sutcliffe are Glasgow-based artists who create original music for violin and accordion, inspired by people in landscapes and in ways in which music can evoke a sense of place and community. The classical, folk and jazz duo will present an evening of musical frolicking fun and reflection on what home is and how it might sound. Rue said, "We're really looking forward to this special date in our tour, where we'll be playing music from our debut album Homelands, featuring new music composed over the last 5 years. It will be fantastic to play in such a beautiful venue, and somewhere that is not usually part of the typical touring circuit. The pieces we'll be playing form a tapestry of soundscapes, representing the many physical spaces, landscapes and communities that form our concept of home. Each composition tells the story of a particular place that we have connected with and been inspired by. They are also an exploration of our own musical homelands. The styles, group and experiences have formed our playing up until now. Scotland on Tour will take place over 12 months until April 2023, supporting hundreds of concerts as more than 120 artisans are set to perform at more than 100 venues across the country. St Cyprian's hope to be able to confirm more Scotland on Tour dates in the coming months, including Aaron Hawthorne next January, who will play the organ in accompaniment to silent movies. Katie Hull from Music at St Cyprian's said, "Music at St Cyprian's are delighted for the opportunity provided by Scotland on Tour to welcome Rue and Neil. The importance of concerts and the value of an audience experience have been highlighted by the pandemic. There really is no substitute for live performances in front of an audience." The project, which has been created and managed by Active Events, was made possible by £750,000 of Scottish Government backing. Tickets for Rue and Neil and a raft of other shows are on sale at www.scotlandontour.com. JOM marks 30 years. Report by Brian Newell. The Mulgai-based Josephine Obo MacLeod JOM charity is hosting a series of events across Eastern Bartonshire in the coming months as it celebrates its 30th anniversary. The Jubilee Afro-Celtic Art and Mental Health project, Mental on the Go, supported by the National Lottery Community Fund, will feature Afro-Celtic art, wellbeing and mental health exhibitions and workshops. JOM founder, trustee, chief executive and chief coordinator Josephine Obo MacLeod said, "The project is aimed at building stronger relationships between African, Scottish, BAME and other communities in Scotland. Its purpose is to create a better, positive and meaningful cordial interrelationship between them. The workshops, activities and exhibitions are projected to give participants something discerning special that allows them to interact with others and thereby alleviating isolation, loneliness, depression and other mental health and well-being challenges that were especially brought on by the pandemic's lockdowns and restrictions. I must say special thanks to the National Lottery players and supporters for enabling these events to take place. The programme of events kick off this week and run until October in Kirkintilloch, Mogai and Twecker. Saturday, April the 30th, 11am to 1pm, Regent Centre, Kirkintilloch, Children's Mental Health Awareness Day / Autism Day, workshop and exhibitions by artists Josephine Open McLeod's Joffrey Art and Design, Vanessa Fletcher and other volunteers. Sunday, May the 15th, 1 till 4pm, Twecker Healthy Living and Enterprise Centre, Twecker Family Fun Fair, art demonstrations on well-being through art by Chief Amu, George Ford and others, face painting, African and Scottish food, music, fun fair, expert mental health tips. Monday, May the 23rd, noon to 4pm, Fraser Centre, Mogai, Jubilee High Tea for Dementia and Alzheimer Awareness, food, exhibition, music from Jeff Ford and Willow Moon Band and Alex Edmonds, raffles, Jubilee tree planting and games. Saturday, September the 10th, noon till 4pm, Fraser Centre, Mogai, Men's Mental Health Awareness Day with the Kilted Afro, Celtic Gentleman and mental health expert Salvina Volpe, art and wellbeing workshop, food and music raffle in aid of Men Matter Scotland. Saturday, October the 1st, 5 to 9pm, Broadclough Hotel, Kirkintilloch, Afro-Celtic International and Black History Month Day, in honour of Nigerian Independence Day, unveiling next project of reforestation and environmental protection, GOM exhibition of its work past, present and future, short speeches by experts, music, food and drinks, silent auction and raffles in aid of GOM. For more information, visit www.gomcharity.com or www.facebook.com/GOM-charity-SC-IO-12375-8822-360310. To mark World Mental Health Awareness, the Twecker ladies are exploring the art of tie and dye, African and Celtic symbols, and sayings and proverbs to create pieces for the piece to the World Creative Art Exhibition at Mogai and Kirkintilloch Libraries.
60 First Glasgow Workers Vote for Strike Action by Brian Yule. Unite the Union has confirmed dozens of workers employed by First Glasgow have voted overwhelmingly to strike in a dispute over pay. The 60 First Glasgow workers, including bus cleaners and shunters, voted by 96% in support of strike action in a ballot turnout of 87%. Two periods of a 48-hour strike action will now take place on May 4th and May 5th and May 18th to 19th. The dispute centres on a 2-year pay deal which would take some workers to £9.48 per hour, backdated to August 2021 to April 2022, 2 pence below the adult minimum wage from April 22 of £9.50 per hour. The insulting pay offer comes as the broader measure of inflation which reflects the true cost of living stands at a 30-year high of 9%. According to the latest annual reports, the First Glasgow companies involved in the dispute returned a combined profit totalling £12.6 million. Unite General Secretary Sharon Graham said, quote, "That first bus had the cheek to offer 2 pence less than the current adult minimum wage is beyond insulting. This is a business with millions in the bank and comes at a time of rapidly rising living costs. I am proud Unite members have rejected the proposal overwhelmingly. First Glasgow would be wise to heed this overwhelming mandate for strike action and get round the table with a serious offer. Our members have the full support of Unite in their fight for better pay." End quote. Duncan Cameron, Managing Director of First Bus Scotland, responded, quote, "We have been notified by Unite of the outcome of a consultative ballot on industrial action with fleet and facility support members in First Glasgow. We are in negotiations with union representatives and constructive dialogue will continue as part of that process. I can confirm all first bus employees meet current national minimum wage rates. Since March 2020, passenger numbers have fallen by nearly a third and have still not fully recovered. As a business, we want to reward and recognise our team members, but we have to balance that against rising operational costs we are currently experiencing." End quote. Article by Brian Yule. Author visits library. I Write welcomed an audience back to the Mitchell Library after 3 years away to hear Booker Prize winner Douglas Stewart talk about his latest novel, Young Mungo. Ahead of the main book festival, which runs from May 6th to May 22nd, the sellout event, which was sponsored by the Open University in Scotland, saw the Shuggie Bain author in conversation with Louise Welsh, a fellow Glasgow novelist and professor of creative writing at the University of Glasgow. I Write programmer Bob McDivitt said, quote, "It was a real thrill to kick off I Write with the authors of two of my favourite books of 2022, Young Mungo and The Second Cut. I can't wait to welcome more enthusiastic Glasgow audiences back to the festival in May." End quote. The full programme and tickets are available at www.glasgowlife.org.uk/arts, music and cultural venues/I Write.
Concern about reporting bullies. An East Dunbartonshire parent has expressed serious concern about the way the council is handling the reporting of bullying in schools. The parent, who has requested anonymity, believes East Dunbartonshire Council is not doing enough to comply with government rules on the reporting of bullying issues and urges other families to ensure their cases are being handled properly. The parent said the council has 44 schools. In 2018-19, they recorded 125 bullying incidents. This works out at 2.84 incidents per school year per school, or a maximum of 0.72% of children, being based on the assumption that every child was bullied only once, which we know is unlikely. In 2019-20, they recorded 94 bullying incidents. This works out at 2.13 incidents per school in this year, or a maximum of 0.54% of pupils being bullied. This was a shorter year, with school ending on March the 24th due to COVID. It did not reopen after the Easter break. In 2020-21, they recorded 55 bullying incidents. This works out at 1.25 incidents per school in this year, or a maximum of 0.31% of pupils being bullied. This was a shorter year in that all schools shut on January the 6th, 2021 due to COVID. Younger children returned on February 22nd and the older ones on March the 15th, so the interruption was less than the previous year. The parent says it took 2 years to obtain a copy of their child's education records and that they showed no incidents of bullying had been properly recorded. A complaint was partially upheld by the council, which admitted it had not recorded the issues in the new Bullying and Equalities module, which had been introduced by the government. But as teachers have been given full training on this, the parent refuses to accept this explanation. The parent then lodged Freedom of Information Act requests with all 32 Scottish councils, which showed there may be a widespread problem with the reporting of incidents in schools, and the Scottish Government has committed to investigate how well its guidance is being implemented. The parent added, "My advice to parents is to ensure that bullying is recorded properly, and if things are not sorted, get a copy of your child's record to be sure it has been recorded and actioned properly." The Council's Deputy Chief Executive, Anne Davey, responded, "The Council takes all allegations of bullying seriously, and schools take appropriate action to investigate and plan resolution for our young people as required."
Let's talk, the Kirkintilloch Herald letters page. Please send your letters via email to kirkyherald@jnscotland.co.uk. PM Boris Johnson is widely seen as doing a good job. Sir, I replied to 3 letters in last week's paper. Like David Curry, I was keen to see how the £365 million per week £19 billion per year, NHS infusion from Brexit would pan out. I didn't vote for Brexit. In 2016, the UK spent £134 billion in the NHS. This number increased annually to £148 billion in 2019, jumped to £190 billion during COVID, and from this year will be around £170 billion, £36 billion higher than 2016, and more than £500 million per week more than before Brexit. In other words, £135 million more than promised. In reply to Alex Orr's list of Prime Ministers who were replaced during a war, this mostly happened because it was not going well under their leadership. Boris Johnson is widely regarded as doing a good job, not least by Zelensky, who regards him in the UK as his best ally. Until the Ukraine war started, like others, I thought he should resign if the police charged him. The real reason for the resignation hysteria is fear that if he's associated with the successful outcome in Ukraine, energy pricing and strategy, levelling up, and Rwanda, he'll win another election and his most vocal critics, Sturgeon and Starmer, will be out of a job. Partygate events happened 2 years ago, were exposed just before Christmas. The police investigation has already finished and people, including the Prime Minister, are paying fines. The Salmond inquiry and Ferguson events date from 10 years and 7 years ago respectively. If anyone should be resigning, it's Nicola Sturgeon, whose lies, mislaying of important documents and obfuscation are a far greater attack on openness and accountability. And lastly, Otto Inglis compared how the senior UK politicians can get plum jobs of global significance. Could it be anything to do with the ability and reputations? I had a look at the fortunes of senior Scottish nationalists who vacated their exalted post. Alex Salmond started a ragtag party called Alba and, until recently, was in the pay of RT, the Russian propaganda channel. Disgraced Finance Minister Derek Mackay still hasn't found a full-time job. Former presiding officer Tricia Marwick makes £32,000 as part-time chair of NHS 5 and recently took a break from sorting out a waiting list to challenge a St Andrews University student who had the temerity to write an article called Okai the New and Au revoir, which brilliantly lampooned Scotland. Marwick's niece, former SNP poster girl MP Natalie McGarry, is currently on trial facing charges of embezzlement. Jean Freeman, once described by Brian Wilson as the SNP's Quango Queen, slipped from view as Health Minister last summer. Well, actually she slipped from view well before that, to become Glasgow University's Ambassador for Community Engagement, Public Health and Innovation, whatever that is. Former SNP Chief Executive and Education Minister Michael Russell joined her there as part-time Professor of Culture and Governance, whatever that is. If these are an example of the job prospects for former SNP luminaries, no wonder Nicola Sturgeon is clinging on to the fib that she will hold a referendum by the end of 2023. Yours etc. Alan Sutherland, address supplied. Real issued for the sight impaired. Sir, with ScotRail in public ownership, local authorities should be working with the Scottish Government to make local travel networks as accessible and affordable as possible for visually impaired people. From difficulties in seeing ticket machines or platform numbers, to being unable to navigate safely around a station without a guide, travelling by train alone can often be extremely challenging and feel daunting for many people with sight loss. And with different concessionary and companion schemes in the different local authorities, our organisation has heard firsthand from blind and partially sighted people how confusing and challenging train travel is. That's why Sight Scotland and Sight Scotland veterans have launched a petition calling for a new national policy in Scotland for rail travel for holders of a national Scotland concessionary travel for blind persons card and their travel companions, like that of the free bus scheme. Travelling with a companion, with their vital support, can make a real difference for visually impaired people. Please sign our petition at www.change.org/p/free-rail-travel-for-blind partially, -sighted, -people, -there, -companions, -in, -Scotland. Yours, etc., Craig Spalding, Cite Scotland and Cite Scotland Veterans. Scale of child abuse revealed by NSPCC. Report by Julie Curry. The NSPCC helpline made 897 referrals about child abuse and neglect to agencies in Scotland last year, an average of 2 a day. The most common reason to escalate the concerns in Scotland was neglect, with 272 referrals being made for this concern. Staff also referred 257 cases because of physical abuse, 177 for emotional abuse, 176 for sexual abuse, and 15 for sexual abuse online. Across the UK last year, the helpline made 22,983 referrals to agencies about children thought to be experiencing abuse and neglect, an average of 63 children a day. The NSPCC helpline received contacts from the public and professionals who have safeguarding fears about a child. The charity will refer those on to statutory agencies when serious enough to do so, while offering advice and assistance in all cases. The NSPCC has released analysis that shows the scale of the issue, estimating that 500,000 children a year suffer abuse in the UK. That means 7 children in a classroom experience abuse before they turn 18. This comes as the NSPCC launches its Childhood Day, its flagship day of fundraising and action, which brings people together to protect children. Whether it's by funding, donating, volunteering at a collection, or taking action, the NSPCC is asking people to play their part on June the 10th to help keep children safe from abuse. Caroline Renton, NSPCC Scotland Support Fundraising Manager, said, "We're encouraging people in local communities across Scotland to get involved and have fun this Childhood Day. Whether you hold your own play-themed fundraising event or sign up to volunteer at one of our Childhood Day street collections across the country, every pound you raise will help to keep the children safe." To find out more or sign up, visit www.nspcc.org.uk. In the meantime, the NSPCC is urging anyone with concerns about a child to contact the NSPCC helpline to speak to one of the charity's professionals. People can call on 0808 800 5000. That's 0808 800 5000. Email help@nspcc.org.uk or fill in the online form at www.nspcc.org.uk. Loopholes closed in hunting legislation. An inquiry has been launched to consider new legislation to protect foxes, hares and other wild animals from being hunted by packs of dogs. The Hunting with Dogs Scotland Bill replaces existing legislation in this area and aims to make the law easier to understand and to enforce, and to close loopholes. The legislation makes it an offence to hunt a wild mammal using a dog in Scotland, except in limited specified circumstances, such as to prevent the spread of disease or serious damage to livestock, timber or crops, or to protect human health, and if certain conditions are met, such as no limits in the number of dogs that can be used. The bill also bans trail hunting, when a dog is used to find and follow an animal-based scent, which can pose a risk to wild animals. The Rural Affairs, Islands and National Environmental Committee has launched a survey to let the public have a say, which closes on Friday, May the 13th. Beatrice Wishart, MSP, Committee Development Convener, said, "Loopholes in the existing legislation have been a challenge to those trying to enforce the 2002 fox hunting ban for the past 20 years. This is our chance to ensure a robust framework that strikes the correct balance by allowing farmers and land managers to exercise appropriate and effective control measures, whilst ensuring the highest animal welfare protections. To help with our scrutiny, we'd like to hear from organisations and groups with an interest as well as members of the public. To have your say on the issue, visit yourviews.parliament.scot-rain-hunting-with-dogs. Amy wins service families contract. A new contract that will provide the crucial accommodation services to armed forces families in Scotland has begun. It is among 5 contracts awarded last June by the Defence Infrastructure Organisation, DIO, to provide a new national call centre and enhanced maintenance and repair services to military homes across the UK. The contract to provide repair and maintenance services to service family homes in the North region, which takes in Scotland, Northern England, Northern Ireland and North Wales, was awarded to Amy. It represents an £83 million investment in services for military homes across the region, including £63 million for Scotland. In addition to the core services, the regional contracts will also deliver improvement projects and refurbishment work to homes with an estimated value of £136 million. Part of the Ministry of Defence £3 billion Future Defence Infrastructure Services FDIS programme, it will provide a step change in how housing services are delivered to military families. The new contracts offer incentives to suppliers to ensure families come first. This includes providing first-time fixes and quicker response times for repairs. Pinnacle Group Limited will operate the National Service Centre, the single contact point for service families. Air Commodore James Savage, DIO Head of Accommodation, said, "Our armed forces and their families have no choice where they serve and how frequently they'll move, so it's vital we ensure their homes are of the right quality. Their needs must be at the heart of what we do." Go the Full Hog for the 40th in May. By Julie Curry, reporter. Hedgehog Awareness Week runs from May the 1st to May the 7th, and everyone in Scotland has been invited to take part in this special celebration year. Organised by the British Hedgehog Preservation Society, this year's event also marks the Society's 40th birthday. Major Adrian Coles, MBE, who became nationally known as Major Hedgehog, founded the BHPS in 1982. It all began when Adrian found a hedgehog in a cattle grid on his land. He rescued it using a saucepan, and then realised if there hadn't been a major in hand with kitchen utensils, the hedgehog would never have survived. He used his position as a county councillor at the time to get his local council to install escape ramps in all its grids. The resulting publicity was so vast that he realised there was a great appetite to help the humble hedgehog in the UK, and so the society was founded. The Major was instrumental in giving the hedgehog the high profile that it now enjoys, and the charity continues to work tirelessly to improve awareness of the plight of our prickly wee friends. To celebrate the milestone, Scots have been asked to grant hedgehog birthday wishes during the Awareness Week in May. Faye Vass, the Society's chief executive, said, "Hedgehogs are struggling and mostly that's due to human activity. Small actions can help a great deal. A little effort from each of us can make life a lot easier for hedgehogs. If you don't have a garden yourself, you can still help by contacting public space managers, neighbours, family and friends to ensure they're doing their bit. There are many ways you can get involved. A few suggestions mooted by the charity: make hedgehog highways and fences, 5 inches by 5 inches, 13 centimetre by 13 centimetre, square gaps in the bottom of fences or walls should do it. Log these on the Big Hedgehog Map at www.bighedgehogmap.org. Create an undistributed log pile to offer shelter and food. Buy or build a hedgehog home. See plans at www.britishhedgehogs.org.uk/hedgehog homes. Offer water and meaty cat or dog food for hedgehogs. You can even build a feeding station to keep the food safe. 5 new members for Cats panel. Forestry and Land Scotland is looking for 5 new panel members for its Community Asset Transfer Scheme, CATS. CATS enables community bodies to take on ownership or lease of public land buildings on Scotland's national forest and in land, where the community can make better use of the asset. To date, 17 successful asset requests have been completed, with 6 more approved. Panel members provide independent and impartial advice to FLS on applications to CATs and to help evaluate the impacts of requests. Simon Hodgson, FLS Chief Executive, said, "This is a great opportunity, open to enthusiastic and talented Scots who have experience in forestry, economics or communities work." Requests for applications via CV and covering letter should be submitted to fls.communities@forestryandland.gov.scot. District News General. Cladding ban. Legislation to improve fire safety and boost Scotland's net zero ambitions has been laid out before the Scottish Parliament. Under the legislation, developers will be banned from using combustible cladding on high-rise buildings. Since 2005, new cladding systems on high-rise blocks of flats have either had to use non-combustible materials or pass a large-scale fire test. The building standards legislation removes the option of a fire test, completely prohibiting such materials from use in domestic and other high-rise risk buildings, such as care homes and hospitals, above 11 metres. The highest risk metal composite cladding material will now be banned from any new building of any height, with replacement cladding also required to meet the new standards. The legislation also includes improvements to energy performance standards, aiming to make buildings easier to heat while ensuring they are well ventilated and comfortable to live in. Building Standards Minister Patrick Harvey said, "This is the third set of changes made to the fire safety standards for cladding in Scotland since the tragic Grenfell Tower fire, requiring any cladding on domestic or other high-risk buildings above 11 metres to be strictly non-combustible." Taken together with our new fire alarm regulations, covering all homes in Scotland regardless of ownership, this is yet another step in the Scottish Government's mission to minimise the risk of deaths and injuries from fire. The energy improvements will deliver another important step towards improved energy and emission performance of our buildings, and we'll be going further on this in 2024, with regulations requiring new buildings to use zero-emissions heating systems. Weather photos. The Royal Meteorological Society has launched its Weather Photographer of the Year competition for 2022. Run in association with AccuWeather, the competition is free to enter and open to photographers, professional and amateur, of all ages and abilities. And judges are particularly keen to see photos of that show and the impact of climate change. This year, the youth category has been supported by the Week Junior Science Plus Nature as a media partner and no longer has a minimum age limit. It is open to anyone under 18, provided a responsible adult submits the entry. For the first time this year, the judges will also combine shortlisted entries across both the main and mobile phone categories to form the public vote in August and September. Professor Liz Bentley, Chief Executive of the Royal Meteorological Society, said, "It never fails to amaze me the quality and breadth of images that we receive. Weather can be truly unique to specific parts of the world, and many of the photographers capture it so beautifully that if you almost feel as if you were there. It's a privilege to share in those moments." Entries can be submitted at zealous.co/rmets, where more information is also available. Tea in a blether. Alzheimer's Scotland is calling on the people of Scotland to pop the kettle on and get talking about dementia. Ahead of Dementia Awareness Week, the charity is launching its Tea in Blether campaign. Communities across Scotland are encouraged to host a coffee morning style event in a bid to raise funds and awareness of dementia. Kirsty Stewart, Executive Lead for Stakeholder Engagement, said, "Some of our local teams across Scotland have been delivering tea and blether style coffee mornings for quite a few years, and we know our supporters enjoy taking part in this style of event. The successful ingredient is, of course, connection, and we hope that by talking about dementia, we are able to raise awareness, reduce stigma, and bring communities together to support people with dementia and their carers. Every penny raised for Alzheimer's Scotland stays in Scotland and, as a charity, We are continually amazed and grateful for our supporters' efforts to, ultimately, help us ensure nobody faces dementia alone. To get started, first register online for free at blether.alzscot.org to get your fundraising pack that ensures you'll host a tea in Blether worth talking about. Participants are invited to host their Tea in Blether coffee morning during Dementia Awareness Week, which runs from Monday, May the 30th, to Friday, June the 3rd, but can choose another date in June if that suits better. Holy Review. It's time to see the bigger picture by Ross Greer, MSP. As local elections approach, it's time to look at issues affecting our community. Scottish Greens have been asking people to think global, act local, and the need to take this approach has never been clearer. Few issues faced by councils like Eastern Bartonshire are purely local. Russia's invasion of Ukraine demonstrates that ending our use of fossil fuels isn't just about preventing catastrophic climate change, it's also a matter of national and European security. Relying on other countries or on unstable commodities, like gas, is high risk. But what's that got to do with the council? Ending our reliance on fossil fuels is partly about switching to renewable alternatives, but what's also crucial is energy efficiency work, so that homes and buildings require far less energy to stay warm. Through the Scottish Government, the Greens are investing £1.8 billion in this work, but much of it will be delivered by local councils. Since Greens entered government in Scotland last summer, we've made far more support available nationally. For example, Green Minister Patrick Harvey recently announced a £300 million fund for heat networks, allowing homes and other buildings to save energy and tackle fuel poverty. Probably the best example of this is in all of Scotland, down the road in Clydebank, where a large-scale water source heat pump project takes water from the Clyde to generate heat for a care home, leisure centre, business park, council offices and dozens of homes. Eastern Bartonshire deserves councillors who will work with the Scottish Government to bring projects like this, and the jobs they create, to our own area. District heating is just one example of how we can build better integrated communities. Properly joined up public transport and active travel options are also essential to tackling those same challenges of the climate emergency, energy security and the cost of living. Public transport and active travel are now both receiving record investment from the Scottish Government, but again, both depend on local councillors to deliver local schemes. Eastern Bartonshire has failed us in this regard in the last few years, being the only mainland council not to use any money from the Scottish Government's Spaces for People programme during the pandemic. And that was a column by Ross Greer, bringing it to a close. District News General. Suited booted Genesis means business. Flagship Saloon has the quality and refinement to compete with the German Big Three, writes Matt Allen. Much of the premium car market is now about SUVs, but to be anybody in the sector, you've still got to offer a saloon or two. So, alongside its high-ranking GV70 and GV80, Korean upstart Genesis has brought the G70 and G80 on its quest to complete with Europe's finest. To help, Genesis spent a lot of time honing the G80 to match European expectations, from the way it looks to how it drives and how it's equipped. In terms of looks, it certainly fits amongst its rivals with their long, low profiles and gaping grilles. In terms of how it drives, time testing in the UK's broken B roads has clearly paid off. The G80 can't match a 5 Series for engagement, but for most people, on-the-edge handling is probably less important than ride comfort and refinement, both of which the G80 has nailed down. The cabin is a hushed and calming environment, and the adaptive air suspension does an excellent job of smoothing out bad surfaces. Our test model features all-wheel drive, matched to its 2.5 litre petrol engine, via an 8-speed automatic transmission. The drivetrain meets all the premium criteria on paper, but can't match its key rivals in the real world. The 2.5 litre turbo will rush to 62 mph in 6 seconds, on a par with a 5 Series or A6, but the 4-cylinder doesn't have the refinement or efficiency of those rivals. An all-electric version is due later this year, offering hope of a drivetrain to match its otherwise smooth demeanour. A smooth, silent electric drivetrain would certainly be more in keeping with G80's interior ambience. The fit and finish around the cabin is impeccable, and material choice is as good as anything in the segment. Space is generous too, especially for those in the rear who, spec dependent, enjoy electrically adjustable heated and cooled seats, dual infotainment screens, and their own climate control zone. But those in the front aren't shortchanged either, and there's enough room and adjustment for drivers of all shapes and sizes to get comfortable. One of Genesis's ambitions is to simplify car buying by offering only limited trims and options. In fact, there are only 2 trim lines and 4 individual options: 20-inch alloys, a panoramic sunroof, Lexicon sound system, and a spare wheel. Everything else is contained in 3 main packs: Innovation, Comfort and Executive, plus a Napa leather pack. These bring everything from massaging and ventilated seats to soft closed doors, rear entertainment screens, semi-autonomous lane changing and adaptive LED headlights. Our test car, base price £47,950, was spec'd with every option, taking it to £61,340. As with other Genesis, that means you get the top grade spec for significantly less than the price of a German rival without sacrificing quality. And that's the G80's strength. In all but a couple of areas, it's a match for its rivals, and in terms of spec and convenience, it stands out. For those interested in value rather than badge cachet, that could be enough to swing the deal. The car in fact: Genesis G80 Luxury. Price £47,950, £61,340 as tested. Engine: 2.5 litre 4-cylinder turbo petrol. Power: 300 bhp. Torque: 311 pound-feet. Transmission: 8-speed automatic all-wheel drive. Top speed 155 mph. 0 to 62 mph, 6 seconds. Economy 30.4 to 31.2 mpg. CO2 emissions 205 to 210 grams per kilometre. Skoda. Comfort Kodiaq bears closer inspection. Skoda's large SUV offers family more space, writes Rob Ochterlony. Anyone with any interest in the natural world will know that a Kodiaq is, to put it succinctly, a ruddy great bear. There's also another one around, with considerably less fur and less likely to bite you in the bum. Skoda, who have had something for a penchant for exotic animals in the past, remember Yeti, have updated their own Kodiaq, and it's a car that bears close scrutiny. Its natural habitat will be the highways and byways of our ailing road network, but there is also a 4x4 trim, which makes it quite adept at heading for the Bonducs, as well as being a decent tow car if you have a caravan to toddle along to the countryside with. Under scrutiny, here is a 2-wheel drive SEL version, in which we stuck to normal roads and racked up a few miles in the comfort of its commodious cabin. It's the Czech firm's largest SUV, and it comes in a variety of trims. And the engine choices vary too, with something for most tastes and needs. It's a step up in size from its Karoq stablemate, so a bit more room and practicality for your money. It can seat up to 7 people when needed, as long as those at the back have very short legs and have appeared in a Star Wars film. 5 up, there's room for all and your baggage in a decent sized load area, one of the best in its class. The interior passes close inspection, neat and functional in its layout, and if you search around you'll find some neat touches, like the concealed compartment in the passenger side of the dash, and the "why has no one done this before" logical placing of the push start stop button on the steering column, where most put it in the dash or in the central console. It has a well finished feel, and the equipment levels in the SEL model features a crystal clear reversing camera and a nice clear sat-nav display. Switch gear has the user-friendliness of just about everything else in the VW Group stable. It feels well built and it's easy to live with, and comes with a good ride and handling balance as standard. The 1.5 litre cylinder on-demand engine under the bonnet of this test model might on the face of it appear a bit optimistic, but it's surprisingly efficient. It's a unit used across the VW Group in a number of cars and is well suited to the Kodiaq, even with the increased kerb weight, 1,795 kilograms. It is asked to move around, as opposed to some of the other, more lightweight installations. You're not going to unnecessarily push a large SUV like this, but it's capable of romping along at a fair lick without disturbing the comfort of those inside. It still performs fairly well on rough country roads, so it's not going to make you thinking you've made the wrong choice. If your choice comes with dynamic chassis control, you'll probably find normal to be the best compromise. Steering has a light feel, but it's sharp to your inputs, and the DSG 7-speed gearbox will slip through the ratios without bothering you too much. Small touches that leave a good impression include the umbrella located in the driver's door, and the ice scraper located inside the fuel flap for those cold mornings. Need space but on a budget? Fill your boot! The car, in fact, is Kodiaq SEL. Price £33,730, £36,201 as tested. Engine 1.5 litre 4-cylinder petrol. Power 148 British horsepower. Torque 185 pounds per foot. Transmission 7-speed DSG. Top speed 127 miles per hour. 0 to 62 miles per hour 9.8 seconds. Economy 39.2 mpg. CO2 emissions 164 grams per kilogram.
Obituaries. Deaths. Forrest Clarice. Peacefully on April 12, 2022, at the Glasgow Royal Infirmary, beloved wife of Bill, much loved mum of Stephen and Eiley, and mother-in-law of Linda and Tom, an adored gran to Abigail and Rebecca. Funeral service will take place on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, at Milton of Campsie Parish Church for 1:30 p.m. Thereafter to Daldowie Crematorium for 2:45 p.m. Family flowers only, donations if desired, received on behalf of Alzheimer's Scotland. Gifford, James Ruthven. At home on April 14th, 2022. Ruthven, beloved husband of Ruth and late Ishbel, loving father of Jim, Alan and Christine, much loved granddad and great-granddad. Committal to take place on Wednesday, April 27th, 2022, at Daldowie Crematorium at 11 a.m. and the funeral service thereafter at Lindsay Union Parish Church at 12 noon. Family flowers only, please. McCrae Joe. Peacefully on April 14th, 2022 at Glasgow Royal Infirmary, aged 91. Joe, beloved husband of 68-year-old Isabel, dear dad of John, Richard, David and Alan, and beloved grandpa of David and John. Funeral service will be held at 2:45 p.m. on Friday, April 29th at Daldowie Crematorium, to which all friends and family are invited. Family flowers only, please, or alternatively, donations to Macmillan Cancer Support. Stirling, Ray. Peacefully at home, North Bank, Kirkintilloch, on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Ray, beloved wife of the late Billy, much loved and loving mum of Peter, Julie, David and Andrew, mother-in-law of Tricia, Eleanor and Fiona, a dearly beloved gran to Jamie, Jack, Grant, Graham, Craig, Fraser, Callum, Theo, Ewan, Alexander, and cherished great-gran to Caleb. Funeral service to take place at St Mary's Parish Church, Kirkintilloch, G66 1JB, on Friday, April 29th, 2022, at 10:30am. Thereafter to Old Isle Cemetery, New Extension, arriving at 11:30am. Family flowers only, please. In Memoriam. Pitcairn, Jim. In loving memory of Jim, died April 28th, 1987. Quote, always in our thoughts. Jim, Margaret, Isabel, David, grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Need help writing your notice? Please call on 0207 023 7930. That's 0207 023 7930. Or email bmd@gpimedia.co.uk. Again, that's bmd@gpimedia.co.uk for some helpful and understanding advice. Planning notices. Eastern Bartonshire Council planning notices. The Eastern Bartonshire Council, B819 Cross Hill Road between Bishopbriggs and Lindsay, temporary closure, Order 2022. On the 26th of April 2022, the Eastern Bartonshire Council made the above-named order under Section 14 brackets 1 of the Road Traffic Regulation Act 1984, as amended, which makes it unlawful for any person to drive or cause or permit to be driven any motor vehicle, brackets with the exception of emergency service vehicles, vehicles engaged in the works, and those vehicles requiring access to properties adjacent to the closed section of road when it is safe and practical to do so, in brackets, on the section of Cross Hill Road between the vehicular access to HMP Low Moss and its junction with Boghead Road, Lindsay, by reason of works being executed on or near this road. The order will operate from 6 a.m. on Monday the 9th of May until 6 p.m. on Sunday the 15th of May 2022. Alternative route. The alternative routes will be by way of Boghead Road, Gallow Hill Road, the B757 Lindsay Road, Townhead, Parliament Road, the A806 New Laird's-Land Road, and the A803 Glasgow Road in Kirkintilloch, the A803 Kirkintilloch Road, Cole Road, the B819 Cross Hill Road, the A803 Kirkintilloch Road and Westerhill Road in Bishopbriggs, and the B812 Rebroyson Road, and these routes will be signposted. SGD Karen Donnelly, Chief Solicitor and Monitoring Officer, Legal Services, Eastern Bartonshire Council Headquarters, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, G66 1TJ. Civic Government brackets Scotland Act 1982. Application for grant/renewal of booking office licence. The undernoted have applied for the renewal of a booking office licence in terms of the above Act. Name and address of applicant: Kirkintilloch, Broomhill, Private Hire Limited, Unit 1A, 7 Campsie Road, Kirkintilloch, Glasgow, G66 1SL. Name and address of day-to-day manager: Sharon McKean, 24 Baldorin Drive, Milton of Campsie, Glasgow, G66 8FZ. Name and address of taxi/private hire bookings office: Kirkintilloch, Broomhill, Private Hire Ltd, Unit 1A, 7 Campsie Road, Kirkintilloch, Glasgow, G66 1SL. Hours of business: 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. Any objection or representations to any of the above applications in terms of paragraph 3 brackets 1 of Schedule 1 of the Act should be lodged with the undernoted no later than 28 days from the publication date of the newspaper in which this advertisement appears. Deputy Chief Executive, Education, People and Business, East Bartonshire Council Headquarters, 12 Strathkelvin Place, Kirkintilloch, Glasgow, G66 1TJ. Date 13th of April 2022. Notice of General Extensions of Licensed Hours. In terms of Section 67 of the Licensing (Scotland) Act 2005, Eastern Bartonshire Licensing Board has determined that it is appropriate to grant general extensions of licensed hours for the Platinum Jubilee holiday weekend. The extensions are as follows. Nightclub premises will be allowed open until 3 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of June 2022 and the morning of the 5th of June 2022. Entertainment premises will be allowed to open until 2:30 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of June 2022 and the morning of the 5th of June 2022. Members' clubs will be allowed to open until 2 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of June 2022 and the morning of the 5th of June 2022, and all other on-sales premises will be allowed to open until 2 a.m. on the morning of the 4th of June 2022 and the morning of the 5th of June 2022. This extension will only apply to on-sales and not off-sales of alcohol. There will be no general extensions beyond this, although any applications for extended hours within the general extension will be considered on a case-by-case basis. There is no need for licensees to apply for the general extensions set out above. On-sales premises can utilise these hours by extent they consider appropriate. Licensees are reminded of the Board's Supplementary Statement of Licensing Policy, which was approved on the 17th of September 2021. A copy of the Supplementary Statement can be obtained at www.eastdumbarton.gov.uk/business/statement-licensing-policy. The supplementary statement sets out matters the Board will have regard to for on-sales premises applying to extend their terminal licence hours to 1 a.m. or later. This includes different considerations to ensure premises are run in a safe manner for both staff and customers, including consideration of late-night transport arrangements for staff. It is required that licensees who intend to make use of the extended hours on the 4th and 5th of June 2022 have regarded the supplementary statement and the issues detailed on it. Planning applications. Format, application number, address, location, proposal, type of advert, and period of reps. TP/ED/22/0220. Site at Hunters Hill House, Crowhill Road, Bishopbriggs, Eastern Bartonshire. Erection of 3NO, detached dwellings, and the conversion and refurbishment of Hunters Hill House to form a dwelling, affecting a setting of listed building, 21 days. The application plans and other documents can be viewed online through the Council's website. The current residence on non-essential office work associated with the coronavirus pandemic means that plans cannot be viewed in Council offices as normal. Written comments may be made within the above period to the Council through the Council's website or to the above address. Any representations will be treated as public documents and made available for inspection by interested parties and may also be published on the Council's website. Hello and welcome to the sports section of your Kirkintilloch Herald, read by myself, Corey Venters. Rob Roy edge towards safety. An article written by Ian McLean. Kirkintilloch Rob Roy face home games this week, which could be massive in helping them secure their top-flight status. Stuart Maxwell's side face Ben Burb, themselves battling to stay up on Wednesday night before taking on already regulated Blantyre Victoria on Saturday. Rob Roy have faced the top three sides of the WOSFL Premier Division, Auchinleck, Talbot, Dravel and Pollock, in their last three games. But Boss Maxwell says playing sides at the other end of the table doesn't make the task facing his side any easier. Quote, "I've always said every game in this league is tough. Ben Burb will come with a high press. They're physical and they're a good side. They've been a bit like us. They've really improved since we played them in the first game of the season. It's their last game, so they're trying to get as many points on the board, because they'll have to sit and wait and see if it will be enough to guarantee their safety. Blantyre will be a tough game in a different respect, because they're not playing for anything, so they'll be free-flowing." End quote. 7 teams will go down from the 20-team division at the end of the season, and Rob Roy are currently safe in the 13th place with a 3-point cushion. That came courtesy of a highly impressive 3-0 win at Pollock on Saturday, and a performance which delighted the Rabs gaffer. Rob Roy took a first-half lead through an opportunistic strike from Robbie Young, and managed the game effectively after the break, before a Chris O'Kane header and a Young penalty in the closing stages sealed the points. Maxwell said, quote, "We were excellent. It was a really good performance and a clean sheet against a good side. We made a decent start and scored at the right time, and were fairly comfortable for the rest of the first half. I did warn them that they, brackets Pollock, would get a jolt from their manager at half-time, and would come out of the traps. They were the better team for 20 minutes, but we coped with what was a series of set plays. Defensively, we were excellent. As a team, we defended really well and weathered the storm, and when the game started to open up, and we hit them on the counter, it was a controlled performance." End quote. That article written by Ian McLean. Glens take another title step. Allen Glens continued their winning ways and took another step towards the Tennent's West Division title at East Kilbride on Friday night. The Bishopbriggs side made it 16 wins from 16 matches with a trumping 67-3 victory, which took them to the top of the table. Title rivals Sturtrey regained pole position the following day, but Glens are just a point behind and, crucially, have 2 games in hand. East Kilbride scored first against the run of play, when Roy Blackwood easily stroked over a penalty. But those proved to be the only points of the game. 5 minutes later, the visitors replied when Callum Haddock touched down from a driving maul. Grant Henderson then finished off an attack up the left before an excellent try from winger David Lowe, who managed to touch down in the process of being bundled into touch. Haddock notched his second try with a drive from a line-out near the home line before powerhouse centre Levi Ekvati charged over from short range. Henderson completed the first half scoring with another well-taken try on the left wing, and with Scott Thompson kicking half of his conversion attempts, Glens were 36-3 up. Excellent handling and continuity saw Glens maintain the upper hand after the break, with further scores run in by replacement Liam Frame, number 2, open side flanker Sam Morris and Ryan Moffat, 2. This Saturday, Glens are away to Kilmarnock, while Sturtrey travel to Strath-Hendrick. Tigers aim for Derby delight at the double. Glasgow Tigers boss Cammy Brown says he's looking for his side to bounce back from disappointment with the Scottish Derby double. Tigers take on arch-rivals Edinburgh Monarchs at Armadale on Friday night, before the capital side travel through to the Peugeot Ashfield Stadium for Part 2 of a Speedway Great Britain Championship doubleheader on Sunday. Brown is hoping his riders can get back on the winning track after missing out on a point in 52-38 loss at Leicester Lions on Saturday. The Tigers keep things tight for the first 9 races, as they stayed within 4 of the lines, led by former Glasgow chief Stuart Dixon. But several heat advantages put Leicester 14 ahead to ensure Brown's men came up the road empty-handed. The Tigers team manager said, quote, "The track was difficult for the guys. We had a couple of unfortunate followers in good positions, and we also had 2 reruns when we were leading, one of which was a bizarre decision. I think we rode better than it shows, but we're not going to make excuses. We didn't get a point, and generally you get what you deserve. We had a chat with the lads after, and we're already looking forward to Friday night at Armadale, where we will give it everything we've got." End quote. The defeat at Leicester came off the back of 2 convincing home wins to start the season and means Glasgow are now 9 points from 3 opening SGB Championship fixtures. Tigers follow their opening win over Newcastle Diamonds with a 56-34 victory over Berwick Bandits on Friday night. Sports Digest. Swimming, Shanahan. Bishopbriggs swimmer Katie Shanahan enjoyed individual and team success at the Scottish National Age Group Championships at Tollcross International Swimming Centre. The 17-year-old Bishopbriggs Academy pupil claimed 2 individual titles, winning the girls' 17 to 18 years 50-metre backstroke and 200-metre freestyle, with 2 relay golds, and the girls' 4x 200-metre freestyle and mixed 4x 100-metre medley relays. She also won silvers in the girls' 4x 100 medley and freestyle relays, and her efforts and those of her teammates helped her City of Glasgow swim team win the accolade for top club at the championships. Rugby, Lenzie. Lenzie Rugby Club were comprehensive 63-15 winners over visitors Cannock in their Tennent's West Division first match at Viewfield on Saturday. Lenzie will play their final match this season this Saturday at home to Irvine. Kick-off at 3 p.m. Football, West Park. Bishopbriggs Club West Park United have clinched promotion to the Central Scottish AFL top flight in their first season in the league. United beat Golden Hill 2-1 on Saturday to make sure of stepping up from the Hills Solicitors Championship and join the likes of Kirkintilloch side Hearstanes in next season's Premier Division. They will now look to clinch the title when they face Tower Hearts this Saturday. The team tweeted, quote, "Considering it's our first year at amateurs, we can have nothing but pride for our lads and appreciation for all the hard work they put in to get us there." All the candidates fighting for your vote in Eastern Bartonshire Council May elections. An article written by Neil McGrory. The following candidates have been confirmed as standing in Eastern Bartonshire's local government elections, which take place on May 5th. Ward 1, Mulgai. 3 councillors to elect. Julie Duncan, Independent. Jim Gibbons, SNP. Alex Matheson, Conservative. Aileen Polson, Liberal Democrat. Thomas Shepherd, Labour, and Emma Shepherd, Greens. Ward 2, Bearsden North, 3 councillors to elect. Duncan Cumming, Independent. Duncan Evans, Conservative. Craig Munsey, Labour. Alan Reid, Liberal Democrat. Neil Simpson, Greens, and Callum Smith, SNP. Ward 3, Bearsden South, 3 councillors to elect. Lorna Dougal, Labour. Scott Ferguson, Greens. Ian Gallagher, SNP. Duncan Malcolm, Independent. Sheila Mechan, Independent. Vaughan Moody, Liberal Democrats. And Andrew Paulson, Conservative. Ward 4, Bishopbriggs North and Campsie, 4 councillors to elect. Paul Ferretti, SNP. Paul Gallagher, Scottish Family Party. Alan Harris, Alba. Bill Hendry, Conservative. Colette McDermott, Labour. Gary Hughes, Liberal Democrat. Elizabeth Rowan, Greens. And Linda Williamson, SNP. Ward 5, Bishopbriggs South, 3 councillors to elect. Jesper Bach, Greens. Catherine Brown, Conservative. Eamon Gallagher, Alba. Gordon Lowe, SNP. Alan Moyer, Labour. Ben Rose, Liberal Democrat. Ward 6, Lindsay and Kirkintilloch South, 3 councillors to elect. Callum McNally, Labour. Willie Peterson, Liberal Democrat. Gillian Renwick, SNP. Caroline Scrimgeour, Greens. Sandra Thornton, Conservative. James Watson, Freedom Alliance. Ward 7, Kirkintilloch East and North and Twecker, 3 councillors to elect. Stuart MacDonald, Labour. Josephine MacLeod, Conservative. Pamela Marshall, SNP. Alan McManus, Freedom Alliance. Susan Murray, Liberal Democrat. That article is written by Neil McGorry. Here at Q&A Review, we would like to remind you to take the card you receive with your address and name on it when you go to vote, and also go to the correct polling station.
Thank you for listening to this week's Kirkintilloch Herald podcast, brought to you by Q&A Review, print speaking to the blind. If you've any feedback, you're welcome to call us on 0141 772 3976. If you enjoyed this recording, feel free to subscribe to our channel.